Welcome to the first episode of the K's of Knits High in Fibre podcast. When I was coming up with the name for this particular endeavor, my coworker suggested that people might take the wrong concept of high, and I was like, well, we could add in brackets, not weed.
I feel like you just get extra.
I figure we're appealing to multiple groups of people.
Exactly.
You know? Maybe some people will check us out that haven't seen us before.
Yes. For
my first guest, I absolutely had to have my dear friend Becca, aka Puzzle Tree Yarns, on because she's so lovely, and I can't say enough good things about her. So Becca, thank you very much for joining me tonight.
You are very welcome.
Yay. So I'm gonna pick her brains a little bit for you guys, and she's gonna there might be some rambling because, you know, plus I've never tried this before. So
we're friends, and that's what we do.
Exactly. We cover all topics. So yeah, so a little bit about us. I'm Kelsey. You can find me on Instagram, and if you are a knitter, you can find me on Ravelry as well, also as KZip Knits and as Fiddlebach. And Becca, where can we find you?
I am on Instagram and Facebook as Puzzle Tree Yarns, and Ravelry. My personal account is Goonlit. If you want to check out any of my many of the things that I've knit using my yarn,
as well as images of her cutest little human that she has made.
Yes. She's very cute.
Adorable. She's the best. You almost make me want to have a child, but then I also see how challenging she can be. Like, she's so lovely and so brilliant, but I'm also like, your poor little mind is exploding and you don't know what to do with that level of smart.
Especially during lockdown, it has been a challenge to keep her occupied.
Yeah. Oh, I can't imagine. I do not envy parents during the pandemic, and just kids in general. Like, how weird must it be, especially for the school age ones, where it's like you can play with this friend but you can't play with this friend. And
yeah, there's the full lockdown right now where we are here in BC, and well, full lockdown in that you're not supposed to socialize with anybody.
Yeah.
It's businesses are open, but you're not allowed to socialize.
Which is hard for me right now because Becca is my person in my bubble, and normally Becca's the only person I can hug aside from my husband, and I can't hug her right now, and it's sad.
I got a hug last week at the store, and I think it got me through the week.
Okay, good, because like day after this is like the 24th when our little thing gets lifted.
Yep.
There will be hugging.
Yep.
So. Anyhow, in case you guys are wanting to actually get into some yarny business, I'm going to actually start. I'm going to go I've prepared a small document, but we'll go a little out of order. Why not? Since I see you are knitting. Becca, what are you knitting?
I am knitting the Bun Bun slipper by Faye Kennington. I think Yuki Knits is her Ravelry.
Oh, okay, yeah. When you said her name at first, I was like, I haven't heard of that, but yeah, I have heard of the other one.
She stopped by my booth at Knit City, and I didn't recognize her until I actually recognized her sweater first, and I wish that I would have said more because I totally love all of her designs. But these are they're slippers.
Oh my god, those are so cute.
And I'm doing the ears right now for the bunny slipper.
Oh,
They're so cute. And then they're gonna have a pom-pom tail at the end.
Aww.
And she has another bulky yarn pattern, bulky slipper pattern that's called Mine and Yours, and they're both excellent in case anyone's looking for a gift.
They're so cute.
Yeah.
Are you knitting them for you, or are they for somebody else?
They will be a gift.
Nice.
So I start gift knitting in October, and then October, November is gift knitting time. So
you are smart. I think I was saying this on the Wet Coast Wolves podcast the other day, but I have a large bag like over there that seems to be gradually overflowing with all the things I endeavor to knit for Christmas, but unlikely will actually complete in time for Christmas. So case in point, I am now casting on a swatch for a skirt that is yet to be pattern chosen. So anyways, so let's find out a little bit more about Becca, because this is all about learning about the people that I'm hanging out with. So Becca is originally from the East Coast via Alberta and has now made it Vancouver her home. So how did you end up here on the West Coast, Becca?
I was going to the University of New Brunswick at the time, doing an English and classics degree, and I applied on a whim. I was also in the theater program, and I applied on a whim for the Simon Fraser University film program and got in and moved. My best friend's parents moved at the same time. So he got a job, the dad got a job in Vancouver. So I basically traded places with my best friend and lived with her parents in Vancouver and came up this way.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What made you decide to like switch from classics and English and stuff and go into film? Because that's like sort of related, but also not related.
Yeah, it's like it was just the theater, and I found that I really liked doing behind the scenes stuff. And I also had been really into creative writing, and I was kind of like, I kind of want to go to film school. And I told my parents that I would stay close to home for the first 2 years of school, just to kind of test things out, which is good because I didn't end up changing my mind. So it's a good thing I didn't go to McGill, which was the original plan. So yeah, I moved for film school, and totally unrelated to knitting.
It's funny that you say that you promised to stay really close to your parents for the first couple of years, because I almost went from, so I'm a BC girl, and I almost went to Newfoundland. Like I got into school in Newfoundland, and I had like said yes to Newfoundland and was like, yes, I'm going to Newfoundland. And then UBC like last minute was like, oh sure, you can come here. And I was like, but I was kind of excited about going to Newfoundland. Like I wanted to go to UBC more because I went into music, and the teacher that I really wanted to study with was at UBC. But then I was like all gung-ho about going to Newfoundland, but I ended up going to UBC, which thankfully I did, because now I know you, which if I had gone to Newfoundland, probably wouldn't have been a thing.
Exactly, the small little things. If I had not taken, I kind of traced everything back, my whole life trajectory, and if I had not taken Latin in first year university, I would not be where I am today at all.
There you go. Latin class, everybody. Take Latin in first year, and you too could be working in film and an affluent knitter and yarn dyer. Yes, speaking of film, you have very exciting, like you've had an exciting year for film.
I have, finally. I mean, it takes a while after school, but I was...
Tell us all what's happening.
Yeah, I'm a screenwriter. I did finish film school, totally loved it. Did 8 short films in total.
Which, if you guys, I have to interject to your short films, because early on in me knowing Becca, I got to see clips of a guinea pig riding a Roomba for one of her short films, and that was just like, I was like, this chick and I need to be friends.
I filmed it at Wet Coast Wolves.
It was so good. It was amazing.
Yeah, not with the guinea pig, but with the Roomba.
With the actual Roomba, yeah. Sorry to interrupt, but I just had to get that in there. Okay, sorry, continue.
Yeah, so I made a bunch of short films, and I basically just kind of kept on with the screenwriting bit, got an agent, sold some stuff, and now I have a romantic comedy Hallmark style movie coming out. It was supposed to be a little bit earlier, but it got pushed because of COVID and they had to film somewhere else. But it's a rom-com called A Love Yarn, and it's a knitting themed Hallmark style movie shot in New Zealand. And
Amazing.
yeah, thank you, New Zealand, for not having COVID.
And for like I would think it would be a dream to have like a film shot in New Zealand, because
Oh
like
yeah,
the beauty of the country, and like talk about being like right where the sheep are.
oh my gosh, and the pictures, you can go on IMDb and look at the pictures if you
I'll
want
put
to
a
get
link.
excited about it, but I'll let everybody know on every social media thing when exactly the air dates are, but it will air in Canada and New Zealand first. I would guess early spring, late winter, early spring. Um,
I'm
Now
so
that they're
excited.
airing Christmas movies, they're not going to go air a movie about sheep. So,
Yeah, but it's
well,
still, oh,
interestingly enough, it was originally a Christmas movie.
I think
And
it's
then
so
it got
funny. Like
switched around.
I would have never envisioned that you like, hey, I wrote a Christmas movie, and like the whole premise is like Christmas, Christmas,
Yeah,
Christmas with like the center of it, and then they're like, we're gonna buy your script, and then, oh, but can you make it not be what it is, like not
yeah,
Christmas?
yeah.
And you just like rewrote the whole thing in like a week.
2 weeks, yeah, 2 weeks basically. They called me and said they wanted it, and then I started rewriting it, and it was 2 weeks, and completely changed a lot of the stuff actually. But then I thought it was supposed to be shot in Montreal in May, and it ended up being shot in New Zealand in August. It's just super beautiful. I'm really excited for everybody to see, and we'll have to have a little watch party.
So excited.
It'll be airing on City TV in Canada and Screen Time New Zealand, and they made it so they get first rights. But I would guess it would probably go to like Netflix or Hallmark in the States. If
I'm pretty
when that
sure my
comes out.
in-laws have CTV or City TV, so if I need to, I
There's a
will go to
free
their place.
there's a free app.
Oh, sweet.
Everybody can watch it. So it'll be on. So I think the way it
So it's
works is
an official
actually
watch party.
it will be, yeah, I think it actually will be available for that full week. So there'll be a lot of opportunities for people to see it, which is,
Yay.
you don't have to watch it like at the same time, I don't think so. So yeah, that's what I do. I'm a knitter, yarn dyer, screenwriter who wrote a knitting movie.
Which is amazing. I think that is
Surprise!
so cool. So
Surprise.
I guess that leads me to my next question then. So how do you transition from being a filmmaker into filmmaker slash yarn dyer? Like how did that happen? I
Yes,
actually don't even know for sure how it happened. I just know one day we were both dyeing yarn, and then we're like, hey, we should hang out more and like do this more together.
yeah, we met at the knitting store, and I actually at West Coast Wools in Vancouver, and and that was about 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had pancreatic cancer, and then had a full year of trying to recover from that. And during that year, I picked up knitting again. I had started knitting back in New Brunswick, in Fredericton. My best friend taught me how to do it. She had way more classes than I did because she was the science student pre-med and I was the art student. So she's like, here, pass me some yarn and some knitting needles, taught me how to make Newfoundland mitts, and then like off I went,
That's
and
amazing.
knit while she did her thing. But I picked it up again when I got sick, and then I needed somewhere to go and something to do that all of my film friends were kind of busy doing film stuff. So I didn't have a lot of social stuff. Everybody seemed to be working and moving on with their lives, and I was home trying to get better. And I just started going to the social knit groups at the store, and eventually uh, met a friend, Christine,
Yep. Hi, Christine, if
who
you see this, we miss you.
who is in Australia now. But she had just moved from London, so we became friends. She showed me how to dye yarn just as a fun thing. We tried dyeing some camel silk, and it made my house smell like camels, like wet camel.
That's one thing I always find
Uh,
surprising that most people might not realize is like different types of fibers smell very different. Like
oh
silk,
yeah,
I find is like super stinky.
oh yeah. So it's like cashmere. Really, it seems like the softer things are stinkier.
Yeah, exactly. This is
Um,
nice. You must pay for it to make it
yeah.
extra nice.
Exactly. And I just got really into knitting again and started perfecting my skills and getting like right into it. And after being shown how to dye, I just wanted to keep doing it. I really liked it. It
It's
reminded me
addictive,
because
right?
I do oil painting, and it really reminded me of like painting. Um, and then I started my daughter was born, Edith was born in March 2018. And then when she was 4 months old, I just bought a bunch of sock yarn, turned it into minis, and decided to start making mini skeins, 25-gram minis, and I made them like little shorties so that they look like full skeins
They're
when they're
so
wound
cute. I
up.
love
I love
them.
them so much. So I started actually just doing solids, and it was because I saw sort of a missing part of the market where it seemed like there wasn't a lot of reasonably priced minis out there that you could, if you wouldn't have to buy a whole skein of sock yarn
Hmm.
to make heels, toes, cuffs, or like color work for things. And I just love the idea of like doing up little ones. And that was my first. I asked Glenda at West Coast Wools if I dyed up a bunch of mini skeins, would she sell them? And she
Yes.
was lovely about it and very supportive.
We
Very,
just were like, let's give her our stuff and
yeah,
see what happens.
super, super supportive. And she started selling it. They got really popular, and then I just started slowly buying. I bought like, I think my first order of full size skeins was like only like 48 skeins.
Yeah.
It was
Just to
not,
kind of try it
it was
out before you commit too much.
just a
Yeah.
little bit. And I remember that first full Tupperware bin of like undyed um yarn was like, it's like you opened it and it would stink. My favorite base, my DK base, always the bins always smell like sheep farts.
Yeah. It's true. Sheep farts is like the perfect way to describe
It's
it.
the perfect way.
I know my house often smells like, to help set dye, we use vinegar, and you can always tell a hand dyed skein if it hasn't been rinsed like tons and tons. And you'll even get this with like commercial brands, like, well, I guess not really commercial, but larger hand dyed based brands like Malabrigo or Mad Tosh. You'll get a skein, and if you get like a full bag and you open it, you can just like smell the vinegar, which I always find is, I'm like, oh, it's, I don't know, it becomes a
Yep.
smell you like kind of crave almost. It's weird.
Well, yeah, I like the wet yarn smell
Yeah,
now. I
exactly.
didn't as much at the beginning, and I think my partner didn't either, but now everybody seems to be warmed up to
Now
it.
they just have to accept it.
Yeah, and now that I'm dyeing more, I have my website up,
Puzzle tree yarn.
puzzletreeyarns.com.
I'll put a link down below.
Now that my website is up, and I have yarn at West Coast Wools, and we do shows together
When shows are allowed to
when
happen.
pandemics are happening. We do shows
We
together.
do.
And it's like unbelievable that I started with one large Ziploc baggie full of minis that I brought to Glenda's store just like 2 years ago.
It's so great though, because you really did like the only, like when I think back to like your minis and stuff and trying to find like, I think, well, this kind of ties into your name too. You called yourself Puzzle Tree Yarns to like, and your slogan's like to solve your problem, right? And I can so often would make a pair of socks or like a hat, and it just needed like a little hit of something else, but I didn't need a lot, you know, it was just contrast toes, heels, cups, or whatever. But really the only thing I can think of that was like readily available was really those or the unicorn tails that Mad Tosh had, but those
Yeah.
weren't sock yarn. Like that was like, those were more, I don't think, I mean, I could be
Yeah,
remembering
they
that
were.
now.
I'm pretty sure they didn't have nylon in them. At least the the high twist ones at first.
Yeah, they were more just like,
and they're hard to find too.
They're hard to find. They're
sometimes.
expensive.
Expensive. I think they were like at the time, because I think they've gone up in price since, but at the time they were like $13.
Yeah, which is a lot. And you didn't. They weren't as big. They were only like 15 grams.
They were 20 grams.
Were they
yeah,
20? Okay.
They
and
were
yours
20
are 25.
grams. Mine are 25, and usually they're about the way that the weighing works out. They usually give an extra couple grams. So
yeah,
you get like, I tried to make enough so that you could. The goal was make a mini where you could go do heels, toes, and cuffs on a sock, and with one mini.
So I have another question, because I know, like, often, like I say, I talk about Malabrigo or Madeline Tosh, like those have very specific kind of palettes of color. How did you arrive at like your color scheme? Because like when I think of your stuff, I think of either like really bright and bold, or I think of like these amazing pastels. Like, was that a conscious decision? Like, were you like, this is like a hole that needs to be filled?
Yeah, I really like, so my first yarn show that I went to was Knit City in Vancouver, and the first yarn that I bought was from Rain City Knits when she was dyeing. She was a local dyer who did basically like a lot of bright, solid. She had a lot of DK and worsted weight yarn when a lot of people do sock yarn, and a lot of beginning dyers do sock yarn mostly to start out, but she had like, it was all made for like making sweaters and stuff, and more like for me it was a more like accessible color palette as well, because
her price point was always really good. I remember,
and her price point was good, and I bought my first sweater quantity from her, Krista, and she was sort of like my first inspiration for when I was doing the minis. But my colors are I just like really bright colors. It's actually harder to make the pastels, but like the ones that I do that I like that are pastels are like this purple.
That one's your Rose Apothecary or Osteospermum?
This one's the Osteospermum.
I recognized it. Yes.
Yeah, you did. And you know all my colors so well. But I like really bright colors. I like a good and speckles. I like speckles a lot, but that was like, I had to sort of transition from doing like sock minis in like dip dyes to doing like more painted kind of stuff. But I try to make, if I make a new color, I try to make it go with something that I already have.
Yeah.
So it kind of like a lot of things go together unintentionally in that way, just because.
Well, it just creates like a fluidity between it all, right?
Yeah, I'm like, I kind of want like, oh, I should use the color in this blue as the speckle in this brown and cream skein, so that they go together.
Yeah.
And like, or like, so they have something, you have a solid to knit it with. So I kind of like think ahead to like what people might buy together to make things. And then I'll get really into doing like pastels or something, and do a couple new colors that all kind of go together. But I like to put a little bit of ivory and a little bit of brown in a lot of my solid colors. And that way it makes them just a little bit have better depth. Like I don't think that like a solid dip dyed mini like this has much depth.
Yeah.
But then you get a solid, more of like a hand painted one. Or like this one I think is a better example, but it like has more.
I'll try to throw up a picture or something of like one of the professional photo or whatever, so you can see get a better sense of it.
But I like it has depth, and all of the different bases take the yarns differently, and I just it just kind of progressed from sort of like, I want this to go with this and this to go with this, and then eventually I had now I have about 30 colors on my color chart on my website, and those are the ones that I always make pretty much, and then I kind of rotate through. I occasionally get new ones. This is one of my new ones.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. This
I
one
like that
is
one.
Valley Girl. I love this one.
That one is super fun.
Um,
You have another one that's like pink, like a brighter pink with some speckles on it. That's a newer one of yours. Not that one. I'm trying to remember what it's called now.
I don't have. Yeah, I don't have that one here. That one is just at the store right now. It's not even on my website.
It's so fun. I love that one.
I often will test things in the store first and before I put them on the website. So, but yeah, I just like bright colors.
Hey, that's cool. I like it. I can get behind that as someone who also dries. I also dry yarn, but when I dye yarn,
Yes.
I also tend to go quite vibrant, which is probably another reason why you and I get along well with that.
It is.
So you have a number of different bases. You have your fingering base that you like,
Yes.
and you're trying out a couple new ones, trying to find kind of a new one. I know that. And then you have your bulky and your oh so squishy DK.
Yeah, the bulky is the newest. So I've got the fingering weight, which except for special like challenges or special occasions, I only do those in minis, sort of sticking to my unless it's a custom order, just sort of sticking to my original idea of doing just the mini skein for the heels, toes, cuffs, or like color work. I also do mini in the DK for color work, but my favorite it's my favorite base as well that I do is the DK, and it is a 17 micron super soft merino. When this one gets knit up and washed, it is unbelievably soft.
Yeah.
It's the softest merino I've ever felt. I'm a big superwash fan, and although I do like a good lofty spin once in a while, but I'm a big fan of the DK. And then I have a nice single ply worsted, and I started dyeing that one because here's one of my popular colors in that one is the birthday colorway.
Oh, I love that one and that.
I really like this one because almost nobody does single ply worsted. It is really hard to find.
So hard.
The woman from it used to be called Joma Yarn, but now it's Subculture Yarn. She had single ply worsted that I bought at Knit City for a couple of years in a row, and that was my inspiration for doing the single ply worsted, because I was like, hot damn, this takes dye really well, and it makes everything look like shiny and
beautiful.
it
Yeah,
gives a fuzz, so it has like, you don't have to add extra mohair. It just always has this like nice halo on it. And then I have my bulky base, which is the newest one, and I'm getting a lot of orders for this one.
It's been popular at the shop too. People really like it.
Yeah, it's been popular, and I was like, nobody's gonna buy it. It's just gonna be me knitting, like dyeing up a bunch and then using it. So I only did like 30 to start, and then did and then had to order a bunch more because it turns out that people really like it.
Yeah.
And it just knits up really well. The stitch definition is super fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's quick. It's got nylon in it, so it's perfect for like slippers and stuff. Like, a lot of bulky yarn.
Durable.
A lot of bulky yarn doesn't have it pills more, and it doesn't have a lot of nylon. But
which one of your yarns would you say is your desert island yarn? Like, if you had to pick only one that you were allowed to dye on for the rest of time.
Probably the DK. Yeah.
I figured you'd probably say that, but
yeah, I really like dyeing the worsted because everything looks really nice on it. But as far as like dyeing and then using, if I could only dye and use one yarn, it would be the super soft DK. I'm always surprised by it. I didn't think that it would be good for like color work, because stickier yarns tend to be better for color work. But then it turns out that it just kind of blooms so nicely when you do color work that
that's so cute.
That it really it still sticks together really nicely. Yeah, this is a Tinka Knit Spotlight that I did in some of my
velvet is the body, I think, right?
Yeah, my single tonal bases. Yeah, it's the same one.
I just have to show off that I know the names of some of your bases on the site.
You know them all. And that one's Caragana, and then I think that one is Winter Mint, and then I think that one is Antique Lace, I think.
Yeah.
but yeah, it's like it's good for color work. It's springy, it's nice, it looks nice in a cable. I did some fingerless mitts with a bunch of cables for Christmas last year out of it, and it's just like, it's bouncy, it's good for everything.
Yeah.
I love it so much. It's like I only dye bases that I like to use, because why have it filling up an entire storage closet in my house if I'm not gonna like it?
It's so true. It's so true. I, as someone who, I know that this has been important to you, and it is to me, is having hand-dyed yarn be accessible. Because I know when you and I were both kind of getting into like hand-dyed yarn, it seemed like there were becoming fewer and fewer and fewer accessible hand-dyed yarns. Do you want to take this one and like explain a little bit what goes into the pricing of a hand-dyed yarn, just so for those who are maybe new and have wanted to try it out but are intimidated because of the price point?
Mm-hmm.
But what all goes into creating that one-of-a-kind skein, or the Cole's Notes version of it, for so people have an idea?
I think it's not just to make anything. It's sort of like, I think of using hand-dyed skeins as more of like a special gift, or something for myself, or something that is I just hear my kid in the background.
That's Edith, everybody, and she also dyes yarn, just so you know.
Yeah, we'll talk about that after. That'll go into that. That's why the yarn that she dyes is slightly lower price point. She doesn't have the skills, so it's sort of at least in my mind, it's like an heirloom quality item is like what you use a hand dyed for.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't, I'd probably use acrylic from the craft store for a softie, like for a teddy bear or something for a kid. But for like a tiny pullover that's gonna like be taken in pictures and is going to be passed down from kid to kid, like that's the kind of thing that I use hand dyes for anyway.
Yeah.
But they're really more of an art, sort, like people who dye yarn are artists, and
it's so true.
Knitting can be
and
accessible
chemists.
for,
Can I say that? And chemists.
Yeah, knitting can be accessible for everybody, but there's it's like any art, you want to pay the person for going to art school. I mean, technically I went to art school. I have a fine arts degree. And
well, you spend a lot of time perfecting your colors.
Yeah,
there's so many things.
There's a lot of learning. You're talking about chemistry. There's like what the pH is and what the water quality is makes colors.
Different levels of chlorine or fluoride can impact how your yarn comes out.
Even the pans that you dye in can change what the colors of the yarn looks like. It's a lot of work, like physically as well. Shoulders,
we're all
arms.
really ripped in our upper arms.
Yeah, it's even good for your abs, because you're like, when you dip, it's like you're doing a lot of lifting.
And it's a lot of this. I've discovered that with silk, a
lot of this,
especially because it needs a lot of air to like, it's like you have to oxygenate it and then dip it in the diath again and then oxygenate it, and it's just like,
there's a lot, and it's like
needs aerobics.
It gets really heavy, and it's a very physical art. People, it's work, and it takes quite a bit of time, and if you get you can't erase things.
Yeah, no. If you screw it up, it's too bad.
Yeah, once the dye touches the yarn. But at the same time, I have always been on the other side of that coin as well, where I wanted to buy the expensive yarn, and it was just too much for me at the time, being an unemployed screenwriter. But I try to keep my yarn, even if a base is slightly more expensive. I try to keep all of my full skeins at $28 for for me, not going over the $30 a skein price point for my basics, not for like special stuff, but for just like my basic bases. At least at this point in time, it seems like it helps make it a little bit more accessible, because I know that a lot of dyers have had to go up in costs either for shipping or bases, or a lot of the dye and materials can come from the States.
Yeah.
We are lucky. I know that both of us get our yarn mostly from Canada. I only get my yarn from Canadian mills.
And I get one of mine from a UK mill, but it's
yeah,
they're very reasonable.
yeah. So it can be like, basically you have to see how much of your cost you can, how can you help people save money, or are you going to have to raise it just a little bit because shipping costs a lot and the yarn goes up in price and everything, all the inflation and everything. But I do try to keep my yarn under $30 a skein, because once you get into like the $35 a skein yarn,
it becomes like an exclusive thing almost.
Yeah, then it's a luxury, more of a luxury item, and that's a special thing. Like, I think the only yarn that I bought that was that sort of price was the 25-pound a skein cashmere I got from Loop London and made my favorite sweater a couple of years ago. I have it right here because it's my favorite knitted item. It's
amazing. I love that sweater, and whenever you wear it, I'm always just like,
oh, I love it so much. It's just got the Tin Can Knits flax pattern. It's got the garter stitch on the edge. It wears really well. It's the super soft cashmere. It's my favorite thing. But it's like, I went to London. I didn't buy
it's a memory too. It's like your memento from your trip, right?
I didn't buy anything except yarn. That was what my customs tag read when I came back. It was just like, what are you bringing across the border?
Like,
and I was
wool?
just like, wool.
I remember once when I was flying back from Norway, and I had never flown and gone and had to do like the customs form by myself before. I'd always, like, whenever I traveled, I'd been with somebody else. And so I was on my own, and I remember filling out the customs form, and it's like, do you have animal products? And I was like, well, I have like probably like $500 worth of wool in my thing. So I put yes. And so I had to go through like a special, like, I got flagged and had to go through a special line, and they had to like open my suitcase and be like, what, huh? And I was like, I have wool. It's an animal product. And the guy was just like, do we have a code for that? Like, what's with this lady? And the guy's like, I don't know, let me ask someone. So he like gets on the phone and he's like, oh yeah, you can go, you're fine. But I was just like, I didn't know what to do, because it's an animal product. Even though it's highly processed, it was an animal product.
Often I hear knitters say that like vacation yarn does not count as stash yarn, and also
like that.
You don't talk about the price.
Yeah. Well, ironically, my most expensive yarn in my stash is probably the yarn from my sheep that I sponsor with a couple of friends in Manitoba, because we pay for a good portion of her upkeep during the year. So I think like her yarn works out to probably about like $80 to $85 a skein or something like that. Which is like ridiculous, but we got to name the sheep, and we get pictures of her, and it's like our sheep.
You're paying, the yarn is also for all of the food and
exactly. It's like, well, it's cool too, because we keep sponsoring her year after year. So this will be the third year now, and so it's cool to see how her wool is changing too, which I think is really cool. Plus, my parents can now say they have a grand sheep, since none of us have produced grandchildren. So. But speaking of kids, you have the cutest kid, and she is also dyeing yarn. So tell us about Edith and her yarn.
Yeah, so Edith sees me dyeing yarn, and like, she's been asking to help me. She's 2 and 8 months, and she just, like, I don't know, 2 months ago, I finally relented, and I let her pull her stool up. She pushes her little stool up to the counter, and she stands on it, and I make, like, the first time, I just, like, left the, like, 20 squeeze bottles of dye, whatever was left from what I was doing that day. I just left them on the counter, and I pushed her right close, and I let her, I told her, like, oh, you try not to squirt it on the ground, and, like, try not to squirt it on you, and she went right to town, and the only, like, direction that I that I have to give her is, you know, try to cover the white, because she'll get lazy and do like one squirt and then be like, next one. And I'm like, no, kiddo, you got to fill in the white spots. And then she's like, okay. And she like grabs the other colors and goes. But
if Becca lets me, I will post a really cute picture of her with her like,
yes, oh my gosh,
right here.
She's so cute. So like she has such a good eye for
She's
color.
so good.
And some of the skeins that she's done up are better
oh my
than
God,
things
I want
that
that. I want that one.
Yeah, this one is spoken for. This one is
Darn
American
it.
Rachel's.
Edith, can you dye me one like that?
But yeah, like she
well,
she
that's
has
really
such
cool
a good
too,
eye for things. Sometimes she gets into mood. So there was like a whole pink day that happened, and there was a lot of pink. But she's so good at it.
I love that you let her do it too. I think that is so cool.
Well, in terms of like the yarn is so much cheaper wholesale that I was like, well, I'll let her dye a couple of skeins and that'll be her craft for the week.
Yeah. well, I think it'll give her some super fun memories too. Like when she gets older, she'll be like, oh yeah, I got to dye yarn with mom when I was little, and that's like super cool.
And I opened a little savings account, and when she sells yarn, I don't take any any profit or any of the money for the supplies or anything. When she sells a skein of yarn, I put it into her little savings account that she can have when she's older, and she can spend that money on school or whatever she needs. But like, it's unbelievable. It's so
Who
good.
knew that starting a college education fund for a 2-year-old would involve being like, here, you're going to dye yarn now.
Yeah, she just takes it. Well, like when you come over, she's all about yarn. She loves yarn. I have a little video of her sitting on the bed sorting mini skeins with me, and she puts all the colors together, and she says things like,
she's been like that since she can crawl too.
Yeah, oh yeah, she loves going through my yarn stash. It's her favorite job, is going through the yarn stash and like sorting them and putting them in the different boxes and stuff. And she'll say, you know, like, I love your yarn, Mom. It's so soft and cozy, and she'll like rub it up. But she really just like, she seems to have totally taken to yarn in general. It's wants so to help cute. I love it. She wants to help with everything, and although she won't wear a single knitted sweater, I made her this beautiful sweater out of my yarn. And it's a sparkle Gramps with a rainbow on the back.
And she won't wear it?
She will not wear it. She has not worn it. She has not worn it once. I even did the pockets in the same stripe. Like,
oh my gosh.
Like, it's awesome. I love this sweater so much. And I held it double with a sparkle strand.
Oh, wow.
I love it so much. And she has not worn it once. She loves yarn and hates to wear sweaters.
Well, in general, she seems to hate clothes a lot right now.
Yeah, but she likes hats, so she'll wear any hat that I make her. So I just keep making her hats.
Yeah, you have so many cute pictures of her in that little mushroom hat that you made.
Oh yeah, that one.
You have to write that pattern up too, because I think the people would love it.
It's very cute. I should also adult size it before I write up the pattern too, because I have a feeling that it would be, because I was going to make it for me, and then it's a little navy blue Brooklyn tweed shelter hat with red and gray mushroom stripes.
So cute.
It's very cute.
It's so cute.
But yeah, she'll wear hats. So she dyes yarn with me, and it can be stressful because she'll grab like bottles and she'll squeeze a whole bottle of pink out, and then she'll just like chuck the bottle and start with the next thing. And you're like, oh my God, and I'm trying to like keep the dye off and stuff.
You're like, ugh. I know we've gotten dye on your dog a couple of times, and the fun thing about yarn dye is it's usually an acid or a protein dye, so it adheres to protein. Fun fact, hair is a protein, fingers, like skin is a protein.
Yep.
I know we did a yarn show. Yeah, dog hair. So we've gotten, the dog has been speckled before.
Yeah.
I totally didn't have anything to do with that one.
No.
I think I even partially dyed Edith once because I thought I had cleaned off something, and she walks into the room and she had like grabbed a spatula out of my like bin of dyeing stuff, and I guess there was like a little speck of green somewhere that I had missed. So she had like a fluorescent green like upper lip for a little while.
Yep.
I was like, I'm really glad that that's not the like most toxic dye on the planet, but still. Right? I was like, I'm really sorry. I hope I haven't
eating it regularly. She'll be okay. It was an accident. And it's a good story if she decides to go into yarn dyeing when she's older. It's a good origin story.
Yeah, there you go. It's like, yeah, we just contaminated her with dye first, and then so anything you want to tell the people?
I want to tell the people.
I don't know. This is my
I
first
want
time
to tell
doing
the
this.
people. Well, I mean, I guess I haven't told everybody how much I appreciate everybody's business and just everybody's support. Like everybody, Glenda at West Coast Wools, and you and Sylvia McFadden, Soft Sweater Knits, who designs patterns with my yarn, and we collaborate together. And like just the yarn community in general has been very supportive, and it's not like, I think that's why I liked it so much more than making, like being a writer director of films, is that such a competitive world.
Yeah.
And
Everyone's always trying to like step on the next person to like get a leg
yeah,
up. Whereas
it's
here, I
not,
feel like in Fibre, it's the same kind of in music too. Like there's a certain degree of everybody helps each other. And then once you get to a certain point, it's like every man for themselves. And if they can benefit off of you, then they will throw you to the side. But in the Fibre community, it's not like that at all.
no. And in our first yarn show, everybody was so, I
They're
thought
so
maybe
nice.
people would be like, oh, new people, but they were like, oh, new people, like, hey, can
Yeah.
I see your stuff? And just
Yeah.
like, and it was such a change from the like the sort of social elements, like film mixers and things, where everything was
Yeah.
very like, what are you doing, what do you do,
Yeah.
what's your
Why are
latest
you
thing,
here? What's
your
your
latest
deal?
thing, and how can you help me? And it's like, it's a little bit
Yeah.
intense for someone as like, I'm not competitive and very social and silly and
The best kind of silly.
and I think the Fibre community just like really hits the spot, and I want everybody, I want to say thank you, everybody's so nice. And like seeing people make yarn with my stuff is like, people send me pictures, people post it on Ravelry, or they'll tag me, like, if you make something out of my yarn, tag me, it makes me so happy.
Yeah, it's I know whenever someone tagged me today and
Oh, it
something
makes me
they
so
knit out of
happy.
the anniversary yarn, and it's like, I don't know, anytime it happens, it's like my birthday. It's like, oh my gosh,
I
you
think,
just do this like the happy seal clap thing.
yeah, I love it. And I'll show my partner,
Yeah,
I'll
same.
whoever's sitting next to me, I'll be like, hey, look, they made this out of my
I
yarn.
always like screenshots. I have like so many screenshots in my phone of like all these things and that people have made, and it's just it's if I'm ever having like a bummed day or something like that, I don't know. I go through periods of like insecurity as a yarn dyer.
You
Like
shouldn't.
it's funny because it's like I'm totally fine, and then it's like the day we go to set up for our yarn show, I'm always like, I don't know about you, but I think I've told you this before, how like we're setting up and I'm like, my yarn looks like garbage, my yarn looks like garbage, my yarn looks like garbage, and then we get it all set up and I'm fine. But it's like the like packing up the car or the van and then setting it up, I'm like, this is all right, it doesn't look good, doesn't look good, doesn't look good, why am I here? And I get it all set up and I'm like, oh,
And then our
it's
stuff
okay.
always looks so nice, and our stuff complements each other. That's what I
Yeah.
love about working with you. Our stuff really complements each other, and like, you make full sock skeins and I make the minis, and we make kits all the time.
Yeah.
And we did the sock box this fall, which was super
Super
fun.
fun. We're gonna do something like that in the new year, so people stay tuned.
More sock boxy kind of stuff. But like, all the bases that I carry, you don't carry, and it's just like, we just everything. When we set up for a yarn show, it's like a one-stop shop. You can find
Exactly.
whatever you want, and it's just, I get to work with you.
Yeah, I get to work with you too, which is always like
It's
the best.
awesome.
And lastly, because I know you have a little kiddo that's past her bedtime, because you've been very gracious to stay up late for this.
Yeah, she's gonna be quite. It's gonna be quite a trip putting her to bed.
I'm sorry.
She'll be. Oh, I'm sure she's thrilled.
You can text me later and be like, Kelsey, you owe me this many coffees.
Yeah.
So I have decided that this is the age-old debate. So this is going to be a recurring theme with every person that I talk to. Are you double-pointed needle? I already know the answer, but for the people, double-pointed, Team Magic Loop or 9-inch circulars?
magic loop forever, because
Yeah.
you can make and you can have one needle and you could make an entire sweater, you could make a sock and a hat, and you get to, like, it's wonderful, and the cables are easy to change out, and I am full circular. If I can't do it in circulars, like I wasn't doing these ears in circular, and I'm like kind of grumpy about it. Because the needles are quite big for this, and I couldn't get them in to pick up the stitches that I wanted, and the ears were getting too big, so I'd use smaller needles. So I had to use my double points, and I'm like, double points, and then like they're not hooked together. I lost one for like an hour.
Oh no.
And I was like, where did it go? I'm searching my house, because if someone sits on the needle, it will definitely be my partner Colin.
There you go.
Or the dog will eat it.
That is true. That is the downside to double points. If you have a pet, they can run away with them pretty quickly. Well, thank you so much for being my first guest. I really appreciate it.
You are so welcome. I would do anything for you.
Aw, I'm so lucky to have a friend like you, and a wonderful friend to collaborate in our yarny shenanigans and all the other shenanigans that go on as well.
Yep.
So
I love it.
Yay!
Everybody should buy Kelsey's yarn. She needs to keep dyeing yarn so that I can keep dyeing yarn, because so much fun. She's my partner in crime.
You're my partner in crime. We literally are each other's partner in crime. Like when we do shows, or like I remember our road trip up to the Okanagan for our show up there was a riot.
It was my first time away from my baby, and it was.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Like such a good thing, and I got to meet your parents, and yeah.
See where my craziness comes from.
Oh, your dad, certainly.
Yeah, 100%. Much to my mom's chagrin, I'm sure.
the first pun he made, I was like, "This is Kelsey's father."
Yeah, definitely my dad's product. That's for sure.
Well, I should go put my little one to bed,
and I should go get lipstick off my face, I guess. I actually put lipstick on for this because I don't wear makeup anymore. Because
you look well. I think. Well, I am pajamas from the waist down.
Oh, me too, 100%. This is like business instead of business in the front, party in the back.
The pandemic has freed us, though.
Business in the top, party down below.
Yeah. Blouses are still selling, but like, who wants jeans?
Who needs pants?
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.